Ahoy! Dave Fuentes here. Kumusta? We have another solo episode, but a quality one nonetheless. I'm honored to have this next guest. He's an accomplished photographer out of LA with big clients like Nike, Google, and Toyota, to name a few. On top of that, he's an athlete, a dedicated father, and a loving husband. An all around amazing individual. Please help me welcome Mr. Bryan Alano. Take me through what was childhood like for Bryan Alano? How was that?
Childhood, man. Damn, childhood was rough, man, for me.
No way,
I
really? Like
yeah,
like rough,
I
rough.
think I would say not the ordinary, because I feel like I was raised by a single mom,
Mm,
so it was a lot of moving.
okay,
So it was a
okay.
lot of moving. We never had like a permanent address, so it was really like it's either we stayed with my grandma or we rented a place or somewhere. So it was really kind of a lot of grind for my mom.
Wow,
Yeah, kudos to her. She
yeah,
races
kudos.
well. So, but yeah, so growing up wasn't really that easy, but I think we turned out good. So
And how many siblings do you have?
I have three.
Oh, you have three, and all
I
of
have
you.
three and two steps. I have a stepbrother and a stepsister. So there's totally five of us. So two from my dad's side.
Okay, yeah. And is the family, everyone is in the States right now?
Yeah, two are in the one is still in the Philippines, which is my stepsister, but she used to be here and just she decided to be in the Philippines, but everyone else are here.
Okay. And
Yeah.
you mentioned your Lola and moving. Where where is sort of, can you remember a place where you've stayed quite long that
Yeah,
you've
bye.
established?
Like it's funny how like everything's still so vividly growing up, even though murag dugay-dugay na bitaw,
Yeah.
So, we lived in Burgos at some point,
Okay. Okay.
Montalvan, Burgos, and then we lived in Apovel.
Appleville,
So
yeah, yeah.
Carmen. So, we live in Carmen too, right by what street is that? But anyway, yeah. So we were, jumping into places and lived in Kauswagan at some point. So yeah, I mean, it was, I wasn't, it's definitely like a lot of things, but we have good family
Yeah.
who's always supportive.
Yeah.
So, like we have,
Did you guys have
Filipino family. Diba?
did you guys have an extended family, like large family?
Yeah, totally. I think that
Yeah.
was the support system. I think that
Yeah.
was really the
That helps.
core of like, we'll be fine,
Yeah.
because all of them are there and cousins. We have a big, big family, and
That helps.
there's like at least 30 of our cousins who like
Oh,
always see each
wow.
other. Yeah, my mom have like 11 siblings,
That's a
so they
generation.
have
That's a generation
yeah,
before. My mom also
yeah.
had nine siblings, and I have like
Wow.
20 plus cousins as well. So,
Yeah, I know,
yeah,
right? Gabi
no,
galingaw, di ba?
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
vacations are always fun, and reunions are
yeah.
always fun. Speaking of fun, what was yours before during that time?
What's fun like
Yeah.
for us? Like, what do we do?
What did you do?
Um, for me, I think like age-wise, I think it was really like a lot of, family stuff, but I think sports was also one of it when I think I was like grade 5, grade 6 got me into badminton.
Oh yeah,
So,
you were an
yeah,
athlete. I remember that.
yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things I was got into it and then I got hooked and then eventually, that got me into Corpus, by the way. So,
And you
yeah.
started in Corpus, and was it in grade school or high school now?
No. No, dude, the thing is I didn't even start in Corpus until I was third year high school. That
Okay.
far. Yeah,
Okay.
so you would think like, okay, I've only been in Corpus like third year and fourth year, so it wasn't really that long. But then, obviously, had really good friends and memories. But I was jumping into places too, like I said, the whole childhood thing, so
If you don't mind me asking, where did you go to school in lower years?
yeah, so I went to Montessori.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, it was funny because my uncle was taekwondo master of something. So all of our cousins know taekwondo, right? So we were like, oh yeah,
That's a
let's
good
do
skill to
taekwondo.
have.
Yeah, and we got so good at it, right? And I was going through so many fights in school, man.
Mm.
So I got kicked out at grade 3.
Okay. It never.
Montessori was like, we don't want you anymore.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're just out. All you do is trouble in this school. So I was like kicking everyone, kicking everyone's ass, man. Like, yeah, I don't know. It was just like fun for me to fight. I think that was like my rage
Yeah.
of like, rebellious stage. But I think that was, one of my childhood. That was funny, but yeah. And then nobody wants to accept me. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I got kicked out. And, as a punishment, mom like, okay, we're going to put you in this school that's close to Carmen. So my mom put me at COC.
COC. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
that's where I learned badminton, which is I was actually really happy to because, I wouldn't learn badminton if I didn't go to that school. So,
Mm.
so I went to that school and learned badminton and got good at it. And we beat Corpus, and like Corpus was like, "We want you here. We'll give you a scholarship." Yeah. So, and they're like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'll try it." So yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's pretty much
Never,
it.
never imagine you to be, on that side of things in martial arts. And yeah, our core memory of you was badminton. What was your, if I'm not sure if you can remember this, but is there was there anything that stood out to you when you moved to Corpus? It was like that you were like, holy shit, this is different than.
Oh, it was weird, man. It was weird because it was a private school, and it was also like, like we came from nothing, so it wasn't really like, we had, we didn't have, like I said, we were raised poor. So, so I was like, it was different. It was different. The vibe was different. I was
Mm,
very, very shy, and I was very, you know, I think I was just not confident at all in making friends and all
mm.
that. So it was really like, I was just training, man. Every day I was like in the gym. Like, you want to find me? I'm in the gym.
Who was
I'm like hitting rackets and stuff.
who was the first homie there in Corpus? You remember?
Force, the first one. I think the first one was really like the most friendliest one when I was like, yeah, I think it was Sophia Ganaban. She was my
Ganaban.
classmate.
Shout out Sophia.
Yeah, Sophia. Max was one of it too,
Max
Rodriguez,
Rodriguez. Yeah.
Hill. So they're the ones who really like kind of like made me feel like, okay,
Mm.
third year. And Neil was there too. And I think those stage was also kind of rough because there's so many bullies in our on
Oh
our
yeah,
class.
dude. Seriously.
That year, man, that third year
Yeah.
was like all about, I think everyone got kicked out too. So like all those guys, like, so, and I mean, yeah, those are the ones who really accepted me and they were like helping me out. And I wasn't the smartest too. Like I was really like, I wasn't really like doing good in my class. All I knew was badminton. And I was like, okay,
It's
I'll just
it's
keep
it's
winning.
funny. It's funny you mentioned bullying because the it's only probably in my adult life when I look back, I was like, holy shit, yeah, that was bullying. I was bullied.
Yeah.
Back then I thought it was just, a rite of passage. Like, yeah, everyone goes through this. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was me being naive back then. But now looking back, it's like, yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah. It's traumatic if you really think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
I think the good thing about us is like we shove it off quick because like there's
True.
like
Yeah.
we have that type of grit to be like, oh yeah, kira na bitaw, okay ra na. We have
Exactly.
support system but without you have support system to like, yeah, okay ra na mag. Yeah, so yeah, it's it was definitely
The-
not the smooth start, but then all these friends that kind of came along,
yeah,
sila Nem, and then obviously when I turned fourth year, that's where kind of like the circle was kind of like
that was
I was
solid
kind of
already, right?
slowly blending in,
Yeah.
and sila Buloy, shout out
Shout out.
Pasawali friends, right? So sila Neil, sila Vernon, and Roro.
yeah.
Who else? Yeah, a lot of them, man. I mean, sila Japet, Ding, obviously.
Yeah.
So it just really grew that circle of friends, and I think they're the ones who really kind of like accepted me. I felt
Mm,
like I belong, and they made me feel like kinanto ra ba ang style, di ba? Like those guys are like
those guys are
really
really
kind
warm and friendly, and even now I know why. That circle is really close. Like there is no pretensions there. It's just good
yeah,
company. All around.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
so that's why. Um,
yeah.
what was your? Did you have any highlights, especially in fourth year, where, as you said, it's sort of kind of solidified already your the circle of friends that you have? Was there any sort of moments, mga laag ninyo before, things that you did that stuck with you all these years?
Hmm. I think there was so many, man. I mean, it was like even lunchtime, we would just hang out at Vernon's house.
Oh yeah,
His house was so close, right? So
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
just climb up that hill,
yeah.
and like we all like take off our shirts and just eat lunch, and
Mm,
like So I was really like jumping around. Either I was gonna go to Ding's house and have lunch, or go to Nem's house.
mm,
So I think that there's just so many moments. I feel like trying to think. I think like those parties, those Paswali
yeah, yeah.
parties, and I think they're the Divisoria walk around.
The Divisoria walk around. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
like we would just walk around in the middle of the night, try play billiards, man, and it was just like 3 a.m.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like Ding, dudes, Neil, everyone, and they're just like really just like finding, stuff to do, and
Mm.
we were broke, man. It's not like we had
Oh
money,
yeah,
it's like just broke. It was just like chip in whoever can have money for beer and whoever can have money for
it was
not
always
even
the
beer,
case.
tandoy or
Yeah,
gin, because that was the
yeah,
cheapest, right?
yeah.
So
I
yeah,
used to
and
remember. I think in fourth year, my cousin introduced me to what was it? Gin and lime, I think. Um,
yeah,
so that was you
gin
mix.
pom.
Um, I'm not sure if it was gin, but something with you mix with lime, and that was
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And that was cheap, but the buzz was killer.
Is that the one where you put like
Yes,
on top and you
exactly
let
on
it
top,
mix,
and then
right?
that mixture itself is fun to watch.
Yeah, that was already like the trip, right? Oh,
Exactly.
it's coming.
And the excitement from that
Yeah,
alone was it.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I'm
The
I'm
build
I'm
up, right?
glad that that transition from the awkwardness in third year,
Yeah,
like for you when you
yeah.
entered, and then you seamlessly integrated with the rest of the crew. So that's good, at least that formed the memories for you.
Yeah, so that really made the memories, because being that situation, transfer student from nowhere, and like all he knows badminton, and like, okay, what am I gonna do here, right? So
Mm.
yeah, so it was just balancing that and still competing and training. And yeah, it was fun. I mean, I'm glad I met a lot of, and made so many memories with the guys.
Who was the coach, by the way, for badminton
Our coach
before?
is Coach Nestor.
Oh
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. So Sir
Nestor.
Nestor was, definitely like I think one of the highlights too, that I think that, the people that who's been like kind of helping me out there. Sir Eric was
Mm,
huge.
yeah,
He
yeah.
was giving advice. Like he's the one who's always like, because we go to trips like every time we compete. We palarong pamansa and all that. So we compete. It's Sir Eric and Sir Nestor's there. They're the
Mm,
coaching team, right? And yeah, they I learned so much about them. We were there. They were pretty much like the dads.
yeah, yeah,
Because like I
yeah.
said, I grew up not having one, right? So they were the dads that's giving me advice and guiding me, and yeah, everyone, man. I mean,
Uh,
Sir
d-
Del Fiero. I mean, the late
yeah.
Sir Del Fiero, man. I can't,
He was really in favor of, or not really in favor, but he was pro sports. I heard
Yes,
he was really pro sports. So
very.
yeah.
Very. And I at this day I still can't imagine how I graduated
Mm.
high school and how. I mean, like, short story, man. Deliberation time,
Mm.
like every time, every quarter, they always have that all the teachers get together, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, these guys are not doing good, right?
Yeah.
So like imagine like the only subjects I would pass was like I think it was like Sir Eric's class and then PE. Everything is like
Mm.
fail. So how would you even like continue, right? I mean, I was like the moment they do deliberation, like everybody hates me. Like, the usual suspects like Kotomora, like
Yeah.
Mrs. Enoch, like all of those, like who who I don't think they hate me, but they see me as like, okay, this guy just don't want to study,
Mm. Mm.
and the moment they do that, automatic Sir Delfair comes in. Nope,
Mm.
can't touch that. Like all
Okay.
these guys are already getting kicked out, and I'm nope, can't
Touch
touch
it.
Alan.
Yeah. Oh,
So like,
okay.
yeah, man. I mean, like shit, and then that was first quarter, and then second quarter, same. And he already, like, I think that it 3 quarters of deliberation where they're like, I mean, how would you continue school and you can't even pass,
Mm. Mm.
So like that third quarter was like, you need to get your shit together. He put me in the office.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can only save you so much. So like, oh shit, I know you're winning. I know you're bringing the school
Yeah.
medals and stuff, but
Get your act together.
kailangan mag-own.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was really like a heart to heart talk, man, and like that kind of woke me up. Like, oh shit, and you can't joke around because this was already fourth year, third
Yeah.
quarter, Sir Ralph, and all that, right? So that was already third quarter was my final draw. If I couldn't pass that third, fourth quarter, that would kick me out,
How
right?
many hours, days of the week did you practice and did you train? That must have been really,
A
you
lot.
know.
Yeah, a lot, man. Because it was really intense training because we were competing like against the best of the best
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
badminton, right? So I was training on weekends too. So it was really like every day I would train. Sometimes I would skip lunch just to train.
Jesus.
So yeah, we would stay there the moment we get off school. We stay there till like 9, 10 p.m.
Wow.
in the gym. We were like
That was
one of the last
intense.
ones until they turn off the lights.
Mm.
So, basketball stays,
Yeah.
all the other sports do their thing, right? So, kami good ang pinakalas good na like, with Kokoy, but the guy's Kokoy, like, Koy, don't turn off the lights yet. I'm still hitting,
Yeah.
We're like,
Yeah.
we're still like, when you're young, you don't get tired and you just want to continue and grind, right? So,
Who was part of the team? I remember
Lucky
Magallanes.
Don.
Oh, Lucky Don.
Yeah. Yeah. Julius was actually like, yeah, Julius was one of my best friend, by the way, and
Mm.
really good friend. So he wasn't part of our team because he already graduated.
Oh
I
yeah,
kind of
this time.
followed
Mm.
what he left,
Mm.
because he was also really good.
Yeah, he
We
was. He
were
was.
that was our time. He was really good, and they didn't have anyone to took over, right? That's why they brought me in. So like, okay, I guess I have to continue winning, So that's how I was like, it was
No
kind of
pressure.
like it was a lot of pressure to like, because he kept that standard really high of bringing that torch, right? So I was just, then I had to train hard and all that. So yeah, man. Lucky Don was my teammate,
Oh yeah, Lucky
and
Don.
Ryan Mugot was also my teammate.
Yeah, shout out Ryan.
Um, Odilon.
Odilon,
Yeah,
yes.
Odilon was one of it. I don't remember the others, man. I'm sorry.
Between this I really want to know. Between you and Julius, who would win?
In
Or
his
who
prime or
won?
my prime? Because we have different primes.
In your
So my
prime.
prime, I won. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
So we were like that
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I left. So
Mm.
it's kind of like we were actually on the a trading pool of the Philippine team
Oh
together.
wow.
Yeah. So right
That's
before I
amazing.
left here in the US, we were on training on the juniors national team.
Mm.
So yeah, we were the only one from Cagayan, like to Provinciano. That's why we got really so close, man. He's my brother,
Yeah.
he's the
Yeah.
brother, and yeah. So
I saw a
yeah,
photo of you. I'm not sure if it was recent where you were hanging out with Julius as well.
yeah. They actually always visit us. He comes here to my house, and we go on vacations, and we always have these like a month vacation together, the whole
Mm.
family, like his wife, my wife, so and their kids. So we have this tradition, like we always have, like go places and just make memories.
I think last time I saw him, he was here because there he's friends also
Yeah,
with my wife. My wife is 98 as well, so yeah, I think he was really busy with the business, with the family business.
yeah, he is. He
Yeah,
is. He's definitely. He has a lot of things going on.
yeah,
Yep.
entrepreneur.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so you mentioned earlier that right after graduation that you had to leave for the States. What was talk me through, because I'm not sure though if we somehow comprehend or internalize that would be a massive change. Like you grew up in the Philippines, in Cagayan de Oro, nonetheless,
I know, right?
and you've already established your circle, established your life, a big support system, as you said. Was that somehow a looming thought for you? It's like, holy shit, this day is coming up, or you didn't realize back then because I mean, obviously we were too young.
Yeah, I think it didn't really kick in, because like I said, I was having a lot of fun with, high school and the badminton, So it didn't really kicked in until I really like when I had to have my interviews already, like, okay, you have to do your interview for your green card.
Yeah.
So, like, oh shit, I'm really leaving. Because it's really happening.
Mm.
So yeah, and then it was kind of like, oh, you have to do a what do you call this thing where like a fast track
Yeah. Yeah.
like handbook on what to do when you get to state. So all these people giving me advices already. I'm like overwhelmed, right? So I had to learn how to drive before I leave. I had to like, all these things, right? Skills that I need to learn. So when I got here, it was really like, it was, eye opening because the culture,
Yeah.
and it was, and English, it was, like my English is okay,
Yeah.
but then it wasn't like, but I think it goes back to my, when you're motivated, you want to survive. It's more
Mm.
of a survival skill, man. I
Yeah.
think it was like,
Yeah.
I have no choice. I gotta make this freaking work,
Yeah.
right? So it was really like survival skills and like, oh shit, I have to
And
really adapt.
when you travel, did you travel with your mom, with your family, or was it you first and then
I was with my stepmom.
you were with
She
her?
basically
Okay.
dropped me off
Okay.
for like 3 months, gave me the whole, this is what you're gonna do, how you're gonna do laundry, how you're gonna cook. It was just being independent, right? Because that's what it's here in the US,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you gotta do all the shit, right?
Yeah.
So she gave me that brief, and then pretty much I was on my own.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had my own apartment. And I think it was just also like kind of lucky at the beginning because my dad owned some apartments and I was staying to one of it. So I didn't
Okay.
have to pay in the beginning.
Mm.
So that
Mm.
kind of helped a lot, right? Starting out. But then, it was also like, syempre, like, you don't know anyone, right?
Mm,
So what I did, I just started playing badminton again, and I'm
yeah.
like, oh shit. And then I met a lot of people, some Pinoy, and
Okay.
oh, there's a community here. And eventually, like, made some friends. So same thing, and at the same time, like, juggling because I didn't graduate college, right?
Mm.
So it was tougher to kind of like find something that's, solid that would really make me, you know, thrive and have good income. So it was kind of like I was juggling part-time jobs left and right.
I'm curious to see what was the trajectory like for you for photography.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've always been like curious with, taking photos, filmmaking and all that, but I never really got to pursue it. So, because, it is an expensive thing to do. So, I wanted to try it, but then okay, you're broke, you can't afford that shit, right? So, so
Was was
I'll
sorry, was this interest even I mean, was it there, this curiosity even back in the Philippines or diya na sa US that you were
I
really
think
interested?
a little bit in the Philippines.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit in the Philippines, like those Polaroid
Yeah.
cameras. Like I've always been fascinated with those. My dad used to like give us balikbayan box and ship us some Polaroids, and I've
Oh,
always
okay.
asked for
Yeah.
Polaroids. And that kind of like, and then but that gets backburned because, you know, like I said, it's an expensive hobby and all
Yeah.
that. So so I think the pivot, I wouldn't say a pivot, but I think it's more of like how really got me into is really, like I said, I was working on juggling jobs and all that. And eventually I landed a good paying job. I became a banker, man. I don't know how I did it.
That's so random.
Yeah, dude, I was like selling watches, and I was like doing caregiving, and I was doing like all these other
Mm,
jobs that you can think of, right? I was driving a bus at some point.
yeah.
So it's
No
like
way.
all this
You
crazy.
did you?
Dude, yeah, dude, legit. I was really like driving like a bus, not a public bus, but I
Yeah.
was dropping off like some like patients that goes to a facility.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
pick them up, drop them off. So yeah, so anyway, I was juggling all this job, and then I landed this role as a banker, and they accepted me, and eventually I'm like, oh, you know what? Oh, no, no, sorry. Um, so I was doing good in that banking. I loved it. I got so hooked because I had that sales experience already
Mm-hmm.
on these odd jobs because I was doing sales, right? So I got good at becoming a banker. They promoted me. They turned me into a financial advisor, and I'm like,
No
shit, I was doing
way.
good, man. Without education, without college, right?
Yeah.
Because I was taking licenses, and I got so into it. Like for like 7 years, I was a business banker, and I don't know if you recall there was a recession,
Recession. 2008.
2008.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, I got into photography right before that recession. And, a friend of mine told me like, oh, you should get into like, oh yeah. And then I had money already. So,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I can afford to buy my own camera now. Okay. Then I was doing shoots in the weekends and shooting nature, whatever.
What was the first
I
camera?
did it as a hobby.
I'm
What
curious.
happened?
What was the first camera?
The first camera was like a Nikon D40. I,
Oh, that.
I might
Oh, do
still
you
have
still
it
have
here.
it?
No, I don't. I thought it's a different one. Yeah, it was a
D40
Nikon.
was, yeah, because I was also for a brief because my best friend was one of my best friends is a photographer in CDO, and during,
Yeah,
yeah, during that time as well we bought an SLR, but ours was a Canon. I think it's a Rebel TS something, and we
yeah,
were into that, so that's why I knew that the D40 and the D50 were the shit before during that
yeah.
time.
It was definitely one of those. I wanted the D90, but it was too expensive. So like D40. Let me start with the D40, and it was like a hobby, and then eventually weekends I was shooting. And then I got my first paid job shooting a Sweet 16, like a debut.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, I could make money out of this,
Mm,
But I was also working at the bank, right? So it was a weekend. So I'm like, okay. And and then I'm like, I was like a weekend warrior photographer. I
yeah,
was just like, okay, I'll do it in the weekends, but I have a real job. And then recession hit.
yeah.
It's a financial crisis here in the US.
Shit was bad, but I think
It
shit
was
was
bad.
really bad in the US at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, it was really bad. So many people got laid
Yeah.
off, and I was one of those.
Yeah.
I lost my job. My job that I thought I was secured for like 7, 8 years.
Mm,
I'm like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? And I was like really thinking on the back of my head, like, maybe this could be really like going all in
yeah.
photography.
Yeah.
It was really maybe like, yeah, let me give it a shot. What is it to lose, right?
Mm.
Let me just be that starving artist and figure this shit out, right? So it was really
I
like,
don't
oh
know.
shit, all or nothing,
I
man.
don't know with artists, but what's it's something about romanticizing, going all in and
Yeah,
say, and believing in yourself, and then having that conviction that okay, this shit's gonna work. Like I'm gonna
yeah,
make this work, and
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
that path towards that, yeah, it's
Yeah, it was
fascinating.
definitely all or nothing, man. So I didn't look for any jobs to replenish whatever that I have, income wise. I just stick to photography. But again, like I said, it wasn't still easy. I think it would still took at least a good 4 years or 5 years before I was able to kind of get some steady income.
Mm,
So imagine I was really living on like budget, man, for like
yeah.
3 years. I was just building my portfolio and just shooting more, honing my skills, meeting some people, networking, and just build relationship with the community, and I met a good mentor.
Mm,
So that was really like kind of like the pivot point too. Like I met a good mentor. Yeah, I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know anything about putting myself out there and like how do you really make money out of this, right? Because for me it was just like a hobby, right? So like, oh shit, I didn't know you have to do marketing. I didn't know you have to do, all this
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So luckily, I found a mentor who kind of guide me on the technical side and then the marketing side. And I think the combination of me on the banking side too kind of helped the business side of
Mm,
photography
yeah.
because
Because
I knew
finances.
I knew finance, I knew customer service, doing estimates, negotiating. So that kind of blend into the whole photography thing.
If you can,
And
right, if
yeah.
you can indulge me for a second, because I'm also I'm the type of person who gets into a hobby and really gets technical. And as I've said, I've dipped my toes into photography and I realized that it wasn't for me. But I'm curious, what was what was the turning point for you in like getting into amateurish to really professional quality? I'm curious to know, was it, let's say, knowing your equipment? Was it lighting? Was it white balance? Was it knowing shutter speed versus was there any sort of skill that you learned technically in photography that, you know, enhanced the quality of your shots?
Huh. I used to be like super technical on those stuff, like, gear. It's all about the gear. It's all about the
Mm,
gear. But for me, it was really more of like, how can you put, how can you use a still frame and use that into storytelling?
mm,
How can you make this a
composition.
narrative now?
Mm,
How can you like tell a story out of a photo? How you
mm,
compose your photo. And, lighting is also, part of it. But I think it was really more of overall like, okay, take me to that journey of this photograph.
mm,
Is this just a model standing, or is there a story behind that? So I think it was just really digging deeper. I actually did a trip. I did my first Euro trip. As a broke photographer, I was actually, like I said, I was just challenging myself, like,
Yeah.
where can I take this photography, right? So I did couch surfing. Are you familiar with couch
Yep.
surfing?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I did. So I did couch surfing, backpacking with my camera, and just like go to different cities in Europe and
Whereabouts?
shoot. So I went to Berlin.
Yeah, Berlin
So
is
it's funny because we have a common friend. You know Isa?
Isa.
Isa Tabasuarez. She's a
Yeah,
musician
yeah,
too.
yeah. Familiar,
Yeah.
familiar. Yeah.
So I couch surf at her
Mm.
apartment. So it was like friends from everywhere, and so I went to Berlin, I went to Amsterdam, I also went to Germany, and then in Paris, and in Barcelona.
All right.
So
So this one's interesting because I've been to all of the cities that you mentioned.
yeah.
Photography wise, which one was your favorite?
Oh. Like like culture wise, or like if you want to photograph like nature or
I both,
sightseeing stuff.
both. I'm curious to hear because I would have
Yeah.
so for example, I would say Berlin has a rich culture. I mean,
I was gonna say that.
yeah, right.
Yeah, Berlin, totally. Number one, Berlin.
Once you get there, you can like the first time I went there and go all to the spots, not even the touristy spots, like just in the city, you can feel it.
Yeah.
Like
Wild, right?
there is something there.
Kreuzberg.
Yeah, it is. It's
Oh my God, wild.
and that was
Yeah,
the I mean, if you're from the Philippines, obviously, especially Cagayan de Oro, you don't have much
yeah,
exposure. But when I went to Berlin, I was like, I could see,
yeah,
gentlemen, 5 a.m. with a pint of beer
yeah, 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 yeah,
before going on a commute. I was like, holy shit, this is a
yeah, yeah. The
different
train
world altogether.
station too, right? They're
Yeah,
drinking
yeah, yeah.
beers. Yeah,
But yeah, so sorry, I digress because I'm fascinated with the different cultures there, and
yeah,
interesting
yeah,
to hear from you, like
yeah,
which places did you enjoy the most?
yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely culture number one, Berlin. And like character wise, Paris always have that character.
Mm,
There's something about Paris, something about nighttime in Paris too. So there's always that, uniqueness of it. Um, Other than that, obviously Barcelona, the food and all that. If you,
yeah,
if
yeah,
that's those are the type that you want to shoot, the architecture. Um, yeah, man. I mean, there's just, I mean, Europe in general. I feel
yeah.
like, there's just so much
What was
rich culture.
I'm curious. What was Amsterdam for you?
Oh, dude, totally, man. Like, especially the red light district, man. That was
Yeah,
like blew my mind, man.
shit's crazy.
I actually had the best experience in Amsterdam, man.
Yeah.
Because it is funny story. Because like I said, I was reaching out on people on couch surfing, and in the beginning, nobody was responding, right? Who's this stranger gonna sleep in my couch, right? So what I was doing, I was actually offering them, okay, I'm gonna take your photos.
Mm, mm.
I'll do a portrait session with you as long as you give me a couch. So there's something in return,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
they're, oh yeah, everybody wants a photo shoot for free. So yeah, so I met this girl, and it was funny because she was from she was French. She was from Paris
Mm.
and she lived in Amsterdam, and she offered me her couch, and I had the best time, man. She really just took me everywhere, and she had so many friends. We were just like biking at 2 a.m., drunk bar
Man, that's
hopping.
so Amsterdam.
Yeah. And I don't even remember like, what really happened, everything, because everything was already like blurry, but we
Yeah.
went to so many
Oh
bars
man.
on our bikes. and I just had the best time, man. It was like those are like classic story that I got to tell my kids like, oh yeah, I went there, I had a good time.
Um, I've been to Amsterdam at least probably 4 times, 5 times because of this whole music thing, and every single one of them there were always this blurry nights, like you're in a pub standing in
Yeah,
very it's not like bars in the Philippines or in Manila or even here in Dubai where there is space. Like
yeah,
there, it's similar to Japan in a way in the nightlife, but like the pubs are really like restricted in space. Like
yes,
you drink
yeah,
like this, and then when you
yeah,
go
yeah,
out, it's freezing cold. And it's
yes,
either you ride or your bike, or if you're really tipsy, you walk with your
yeah.
bike.
You walk, yeah,
That's and it's picturesque all over,
yeah, yeah.
and when the smell of weed all over as well.
I
So
know, right? Yeah, yeah. And walking through those alleys
yeah,
too, man.
yeah. I mean, the
Yeah.
smell is like yeah,
Oh my God. It's like, I mean, it's impossible for you not to get high there.
mm,
Like everybody's just like, even inside the bars,
yeah.
inside the pubs, like, like what are you gonna do? You just like might as
Dude,
well just inhale it.
I just I noticed this as well. The coffee there, even though it's just coffee, so let's say Starbucks. The Starbucks tastes sweet because of how concentrated the air is there. When you serve your coffee and you open it and you're drinking outside, it'll taste weed in it. So it's an experience over there.
I think they just spike everything with weed
Yeah,
there,
probably.
man.
I wouldn't be
Like all their
surprised.
food is like it's kind of like their MSG for everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. How long did you do that for? Where I
I did it for like
and did you do the whole like Europe trip? And I mean,
not all, not all. I did some stops because I have family in Frankfurt, so
mm,
I'd stayed there for like, but the whole trip was like 2 months.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was definitely like that was like my beginning stage, as a photographer. It was like I have to do this trip to like really find what I like to do. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So
yeah.
like
Soul searching.
every photographer has that dream to like,
Yeah,
but I was still broke photographer, I wasn't really making money, but I was like, shit, I gotta save up and see, and called my tita from Frankfurt like, oh, can you sponsor some of this, oh, you know what I did too, I was actually doing photo shoots too of their friends so I can have enough money to go
mm,
these trips, right? So I was charging them like 50 euros, not much, but I was saving. They had so
enough to
many
get
friends,
by.
enough to get by for me
Yeah,
to be able to
yeah.
move around, right? So yeah, so I made a little income to like explore all these places. But yeah,
But
that was
at the
fun.
same time, I'd imagine you were also able to build at least your portfolio, right? During
Yes,
these
totally,
trips.
100%. Yeah,
So that's that in itself
yeah.
is worthwhile investment for you to go on those
Oh
trips.
yeah, 100%. I was definitely that was really the main goal. Was like I have to have like photos that's elevated, different country, different
Mm,
models. So I was reaching out to like modeling agencies there and like introducing myself. And they were giving me like having me work with different models there. So yeah, I went to Italy. Actually, I forgot about that. I went to Milan to in Venice. So yeah, that it was definitely like one of the highlight of my beginning stage as a
yeah,
photographer. Yeah.
yeah. Venice is beautiful as well, and
Oh,
but man, if you go there like rainy times or rainy season, ah,
yeah.
it's also quite scary. It's like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
whole place is floating in water.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and talk me through after this trip. Did it sort of elevated your profile as a photographer? Did it give more sort of impact and weight on your name as an artist?
Um I think it gave me some confidence,
Mm,
because, that kind of also honed my skills to like how to work with models,
yeah.
how to work with teams, because, it was like the confidence was there and I'm like able to reach out to like LA level photographers or LA clients who
Mm,
need this, who needs my services, right? So I'd be able to show them, okay, this is what I did when I was there, like, so there was something to show,
mm,
because I think photography is very visual, if you don't
exactly.
have the work
Your
to
body of
show,
work.
right? Yeah, why would they hire you, right? So there was that portfolio to show and confidence, and that was I wouldn't say that, but then, like I said, I was basically kind of repeating everything what I was doing there, continually doing different test shoots. We call this test shoots in photography, where you set up with the model, you do stuff, and you do spec is a speculation shoot where you kind of make it look like an ad, but it's not an ad
Mm,
yet. So
interesting.
you can at least pitch it to
Yeah,
clients
yeah,
where
yeah,
they could really like, okay, yeah, our product can stick our product here and that will be the ad, right? So there was something to show to potential clients that, I can get the job done. So, it was like practice too. Like it's like any other skill. I'm pretty sure like on your end too, like it took a lot, like you did a lot of
yeah,
practice, sleepless nights and all
yeah,
that
for sure.
to be where you are on your skills in music, right? So it's same as photography, man. It was really like building a muscle and honing the skills and build that portfolio.
It was really fascinating for me to follow your some of your work, because I remember at some point you were into product photography. I remembered a couple of your shoots were
Yeah.
into products, and then you shifted into active lifestyle.
Yeah.
And now, man, you're shooting celebrities. Like I saw one post with you and Ken Park, right? That was Ken Park,
Randall Park.
Randall
Yeah.
Park. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, bro's going big, shooting with the big boys now. But before we go into that, because I really want to know that story. What was there any sort of shoot or project that that you were able to tell yourself, yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah. That's funny because yeah, there's actually a project that actually like it's funny because it was for a pharmaceutical company. It was
Mm,
for I, I believe it was for Pfizer. It's
mm,
either Pfizer or it was some pharmaceutical
yeah.
brand. It was so they hired me um out through a referral, from someone. So they didn't really know me. And when they hired me, it was pretty much, I had no idea what to do. But then I was already like um doing all these test shoots to prepare myself, right? So they hired me, and funny because day of the shoot, man, I was really like so freaking nervous,
Mm,
like
mm,
shit, because whole crew, whole production, like,
yeah.
oh shit, big lights, big everything, Brian, tell us what you need. Everything was there, and it was like like I had like a freezing moment, like shit, this is the big guns now, like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
so they're full hair, makeup, wardrobe, all this things, right? So and yeah, I did that shoot, and I got paid so well, and I'm like, holy shit,
This is it.
like I
Got the
wish
bag.
I framed that first check that I got as a
Yeah.
commercial photographer, because that was really like like, oh my God, and then I like can't believe they paid me this
Mm,
much,
yep, yep.
to do this for the photos that I did. And funny story, because you already think you made it because you did that freaking big
Yeah.
campaign for this brand, right? For this big Fortune 500 brand. And after that shoot, thinking that I'll have so many shoots after, none.
Dried out.
Cricket. Dried out. I mean, like, what happened? I thought I made it
Yeah,
already.
yeah, yeah.
That's where, you know, I had to, really explore it and met a mentor and really guide me with that marketing and
Mm,
putting yourself out there. Because I
yeah.
was thinking, I was like, okay, if you shoot for one brand, you're set.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, it wasn't like that. So my mentor really, really guided me on what marketing is and how you should put yourself out there,
Yeah.
how you should build that relationship with the client and build that pipeline to make this business sustainable. So, for you to thrive.
To tell me the stuff in your background, the interesting items in your background. Uh, can you tell me one of them or like a favorite of
Yeah, I
yours? And
mean,
I'm pretty
these
sure there
are
are
these
some
are
stories
like
there.
these are like vintage cameras that
Yeah.
I collect. Like, some were given to me, some were like, collection that I had throughout the years, man. Yeah, I mean, these are pretty much some nostalgic stuff. I have one of my old cameras here,
Um.
but they're mostly film cameras. Nothing of this are digital. So I did shoot film at some point, and now, as you know, everything's digital now. So, but sometimes I still miss that feeling of the clicks, the changing the film.
Yeah.
Um,
There's
yeah, I mean,
something
this is
about it,
pretty
right?
much kind of like for the ice right now. Yeah.
What's that one on the that looks like a vertical, the black one? I'm curious about that
Which
one.
one? This one?
No, the one to your right, the rightmost one.
Right. This one.
No, the other one. Yeah, the one below. The one
Oh, this
below.
one.
Yeah. That one.
Oh, this one. This one's it's Polaroid.
Ah, it's
So
really cool.
it's called the SX70. It's a land camera Polaroid. So
Does it
it
does
feels,
that
it
thing
feels
work?
like I'm like a YouTuber.
Yeah.
This product. So anyway, yeah, it's leather. I love how like
Jeez.
this came
That's
out during the
fascinating.
70s,
Yeah,
60s.
yeah.
So it is one of the first Polaroids that are the fancy, like the Ferrari
Yeah,
Polaroids.
yeah.
Yeah, it still works.
It still
It's just a
works?
film. The
Yeah.
film is so expensive, man. The film is like $100 for this.
No shit.
Yeah,
$100.
you only get like 8, 10 shots.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely not cheap. I try to clean them up a little bit, but yeah, God, they're the days of film. But it's coming back. People are still shooting film right now.
Yeah. Polaroids are coming back as well.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's same thing with vinyl where they're
Yes.
marketing it as some luxury item when it was just a standard, item
Back then,
back
right?
then.
Yeah.
So it's becoming a full circle kind of thing.
I mean, you probably have a collection yourself too, right?
Yeah, I do. And most of them are so we frequent Japan because we have family there, and it so happens that I call him my uncle. So he's not blood related, but he has been like taking care of us for 10 years there, and he has like an entire house of like it was really fascinating for me that they have this intense obsession with jazz, and obviously jazz
Yeah.
music, hi-fi has like one whole house, and every time I go there he's preparing boxes for me. It's like, dude, I cannot bring this to Dubai. It's like, this is really heavy. Like, I'm gonna take a couple of records here and there, but don't give
Yeah,
me the
yeah.
whole box. But yeah, it's funny how it goes. um Randall Park, tell me about that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
very.
I mean, I can't say much about it because we
Yeah,
are on like NDA.
yeah, oh
So
yeah,
I'll be like,
NDA.
so when we did a
But
shoot,
but tell me,
yeah.
is j- not going into the details of the project, obviously, but how did that come about? Was it, you were friends with friends or?
Yeah. No, I mean, it was really more of, a lot of my work right now is heavily working with advertising agencies and brands.
Mm,
So, you know, I I have a production company
yeah,
aside from like my own brand.
yeah,
I have a production company, so they needed someone, to do interviews and do a shoot with Randall. And I was referred to one of my friend, like, hey, use this production company. And it was specifically for API and it was for Toyota.
mm,
So Toyota is one of our good clients that we've been shooting with them. And yeah, it just so happened Randall was one of the cast. He was cool. But it was definitely really down to earth guy, and
Yeah.
it's a fun project. Yeah, so yeah, so we are working. Actually, we are in production also with another
Nice.
Toyota commercial. So this is not with any celebrity, but it's a whole different concept
Mhm.
right now. So yeah, Toyota is one of our clients that keeps us busy.
Wow. That's some big boys there. Um, what's your what's your dream client, dream project? Now that you've, accumulated your portfolio, you're shooting with brands now. What's a dream project for you?
Dream project, huh? It's funny because every time like there are brands that it has to like my wife always say like, can you shoot for Disney so we can get some Disney tickets? Like, my wife is always, when are you gonna shoot for Universal? Like, you always get the perks, right?
Yeah, yeah, of
So,
course.
like I don't it hasn't like I think I'm at a point too, like, like I don't have much of a dream client anymore. It's kind of like,
Mm,
whoever that's been coming in. But I feel like dream project, yes. I feel like, eventually I wanted to be doing, work that truly matters, some
mm,
more purpose driven documentaries, narratives, film that would really, have huge impact.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
films like that. I'm huge into documentaries and I'd love to do some documentaries that would really, either shed light to, people or stories that
Yeah.
hasn't, tell stories that hasn't been heard or need to be, you know, stories need to be told. So I feel like those are the kind of the dream projects that I have now. Because for me, like the brands, truly grateful with all the clients that I work with, the brands and all that. But a lot of those are driven with advertising, and
Yeah.
they're very like scripted, or they're very much tied up into some storyline that comes with the product. So
Yeah, I mean, it's
yeah,
it's always it's always an evolution of things, right? I mean, before
yeah.
you were struggling with just getting one client, and you were, getting into, debut photo shoots. Now you have the big clients. Now you're looking for more meaning in what you do, and more impact in what you do. So I think it's a natural evolution, and I'm pretty sure you'll get to those, sooner.
Yeah, I definitely have a bunch of like my own personal project. Those are the ones that I kind of like self-fund, that I do in the Philippines and stuff. But definitely like it'd be nice to have the brands like pay for all my film projects and like go around the world
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
create stories that matter,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Those are like kind of like the dream.
Tell
Yeah.
me about because I saw your portfolio when you sent it over, and I was really fascinated. Tell me about the workshops that you do, that with other photographers. What's that like, and when did that start?
I'm trying to think. I I think I was doing workshop like the last 5 years. I was doing like a lot of five right before the pandemic. I think it was like 2018, 19. Because I used to teach also. So I used to teach
Mm,
in a film school called New York Film Academy. And I was doing workshops for Canon, and I was doing workshops for LA Photo. It's like a group of photographers. So, it's usually more like invitational stuff. But the Canon ones, like I did a Canon workshop in Cagayan a
oh, you
few years
did?
back. So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So, it was like, getting a bunch of photographers there, and it was nice. I think for me, doing workshops is my way of, giving
Giving
back
back.
to what I've learned. Because I wanted to share that knowledge. I wanted to share what the things that I've learned, especially in the industry, getting yourself, out there, not just a technical side, but, how do you really like make a living out of this,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there's very few percentage of really photographers who are really making money or being in the industry. So like there's so many photographers, but the percentage of that is like really small of who's the ones really getting paid. And it's also important for me for like also, have that representation and share that, because there's not a lot on the industry who are like me,
Mm.
so it's predominantly Caucasian white people. So especially in the production side,
Yeah.
the commercial side, like, I that's why we're, really proud of the work that we do because we are an AAPI production company and we're proud to be able to, have the diverse representation of Asians on our crew. You like every client that we work with, like, oh shoot, I never seen a production company that's mostly Asians, like usually you go to all the commercials on all the Hollywood stuff, man, they're all white people,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I think like, I wanted to also like, hey, if you're Pinoy, you're brown or you're Asian, continue that craft. There's also another field, of industry. There's the filmmaking, there's photography,
That's
there's the
awesome.
production side that you can make a living out of it, and follow your passion, you create stories and yeah, that's very important to me to, really like have that representation of, proud Pinoy and, just putting ourselves out there.
Yeah. And kudos to you for promoting the talents in there. I mean, it's always great to see, people or talents who have reached a certain status and try to bring others with them, to there. So that's and it's inspiring because those people like you and the projects that you do are are sort of like the guiding light without going being cheesy. But for example, for me, I've always been thankful for those DJs, especially here in Dubai when I was starting. Like didn't know anyone, but there will always be one or two of them who were like, "Hey, come, join us for drinks," and I'll be the only like brown kid across all the British people, white people as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's always nice to have that someone. Um, 6 months to a year. What's on your plate? Uh, what's in the near future for the Bryan Alano?
It's really different when you have kids, man. It's kind of like,
Yeah,
you want to juggle, hustle, but then your world is still around your kids.
yeah.
So I
More
mean,
family time
it's the
then.
usual grind, man. I mean, I
Yeah,
feel like we love traveling with the family. Um, I think it's a lot of just making memories with them, and obviously the constant grind that I have, working with clients and brands. But I think what I value a lot now is, being able to have that sharing memories with my kids. My kids
yeah.
are so young, man. My kids are like 5 and 6. So it's like
Mm,
I I always wanted to have the
crucial
building
stages.
blocks.
Yeah,
Yeah, crucial. So I'm my wife and I really like committed, like we have to really create as much as memories with these kids because eventually they don't want to be with us anymore. They're gonna have their own thing, right?
time flies. Uh,
So
as well. So the next thing you know,
yeah,
these are like teenagers.
yeah. So, like, aside from all that working, we do a lot of traveling. We do van life too. So we take our van, we go
Yeah, I
camping
saw
and
those. Those are
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, so that's, kids love it. And I think that those are what matters to me. I mean, obviously my family is the priority. And other than that, it's, work,
Work.
work and
It
balance.
also helps that where you live has plenty of sun as well.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes,
that
we love that.
helps.
Yeah. So yeah, in California, we're very blessed to have, good weather and yeah. So we're excited. We're actually going to be we're going to be in Portugal for a month.
Dude,
It's going to be interesting. Yeah.
whereabouts?
Yeah, we're going to be in Porto
Porto.
and
Mm.
Lisbon in some Cascais and Algarve, so the whole like coast.
God damn.
Yeah,
leaving
we're
May.
leaving in May, end of May. So, and we're there the whole June. So that's gonna be interesting.
God damn,
Yeah.
that will be a trip.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, I think that's one of the things too that I'm super grateful with my work is I'm flexible enough to be able to kind of like plan this, trips with the kids and, with the family and find time because I think I also, you know, I need that space in between of like,
Yeah.
being creative too. That's part of it.
Speaking of trips, are you able to go home for the homecoming? By the way, forgot to ask you.
I'm trying, man. I
Hmm.
mean, it's hard for me to plan like 6 months ahead.
Oh yeah, because of the projects.
So yeah, so like my work is very like, hey Brian, we need you to do this. I mean like, oh shit, you have 2 weeks to do it, right? So it I'm really trying, I'm trying to convince my wife that we all go together. It's usually weird to travel by myself. Like I'm not used to it anymore. Like I
Yeah,
always like
yeah.
having anxiety just thinking about like, oh shit, I'm leaving the family and So we're trying, I maybe convince her to do another Japan side trip, then she'll probably say yes.
Yeah.
My wife loves
Smooth.
Japan. Yeah. I mean I love Japan too, I
Where
mean
is she from, by the way? Is she from
she's actually from Dipolog.
Dipolog? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's from Dipolog. So yeah. She went to Cagayan in Liceo for college.
Mm.
Yeah.
Man, you have a
But yeah, we
beautiful
met here.
AI. Sorry to digress, but AI is fascinating at the same time, very unstable. Especially in the creative industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What's your take?
Oh man, it's scary, especially the field that
Mm.
I'm at, where we could easily be replaced. Photos, videos, because it's getting better. I feel like they're figuring it out. They're collecting much data to make it really better. I feel like the thing about that they're still missing is really the emotional factor of it,
Yeah.
the emotions and that storytelling. Because if you go to ChatGPT right now, you type in create a story, a script, and all that, you'll be like, holy shit,
Yeah.
that's fucking
Um.
good.
So
So
Rocky, our kabatch, Rocky just
yeah,
joined the marketing team, and he did a poster design probably in less than, was it 3 hours or 4 hours? So his workflow was ChatGPT, get some inspiration, and then trace that inspiration
yeah,
into a tool.
mid journey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think he started with that.
yeah,
And he did that really quickly. I was like, holy shit,
yeah,
yeah, this is, but the
yeah,
thing, here's my hot take on that. Um I think during the early onset of AI, the predictions there was that okay, creatives will
yeah.
be the first one to be replaced because of all. I mean,
Ouch.
it is called generative, for a reason because you
Yeah,
can generate whatever it is. But what happens actually, or what it's looking like right now, is that knowledge work will be the ones to go first, actually, at certain levels.
yeah, yeah,
Um, Before the creatives. The creatives will take
yeah,
time. I mean, you've seen it, and just like what you said, right? No matter how good generative AI will be in terms of creatives, the the more adoption we have of the tool, the better we are at identifying is it AI or not.
yeah.
And same thing with music. I mean, I've heard too many generative AI music, but you can still hear it. It was like it still
Wow.
sounds terrible. Um,
Yeah,
so that's my take on it. Actually, that it's the inverse of what was predicted.
yeah,
Like logical knowledge work because it's very logic is very easy for them to train on. it's data, it's numbers, it's processes. Once you train those processes and those data with AI, you can get it. Coding, yeah, good luck with
Yeah.
that. In the next
100%.
10 years, man, coding analyst, my job in data science, this will be different in 5 years from now. But
Yeah,
creatives,
yeah.
I believe, will still stay because there is still that element of exactly what you said, being human.
Yeah.
I think we're still looking for that. It's the human connection still will exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you definitely. And I feel like also like right now we use AI on certain stuff, like storyboarding and some stuff. We use AI. I think it's just a matter of adapting, I think, we are adapting in a way too. And I feel like AI is going to get better, but the thing is it also weeds out a lot of the bad creatives.
Mm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like if you're good, you're good. If you suck, you
Yeah.
suck.
You suck.
You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
there's just so many content creators, creatives that are saying like they're good and they're the master of everything. So those are gonna get weed out.
Yeah.
So I feel like the ones that are really good, the ones that are
Mm-hmm.
have that foundation and have the capacity to stand out, those are the ones that are gonna stay.
Yeah, and I truly believe those, especially like for yourself, who have built the relationships, who have you know told the stories that need to be told. I think those will still be really valuable in the industry, no matter what. True, the the composition of what we do, especially in the creative side, will be different. Like tools will be different, workflow will be different,
Percent.
productivity, the definition of being productive within the creative space will be a lot different in the next few years or so. So it's the ones. I mean, it's always the case, right? When new technology comes in, it's always the early adopters and
Yeah.
the adopters that will survive and thrive. So yeah,
It's just crazy how fast it's going though.
it is
Like,
crazy. It is
yeah,
crazy. It's
yeah,
the the one thing that I'm excited for in this generation of AI is impactful things like health. Um,
totally.
it's us getting near to the average living age of a person will go up to. Right now, I think it's around 70 or 80. We can easily
Yeah.
go to a baseline of 100 in a decade. So that's one exciting thing. Improvements in productivity. It'll be ugly though because there are a lot of people who will lose jobs. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting as well as we don't know. We don't know.
We don't know, man. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm also at a point like should I save for college for my kids? Or,
Yeah.
I think college wouldn't exist anymore
I
when
think yeah.
they,
Fair point.
so it's like it's hard to tell, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's and it is the same for my nephew and me and my sister were talking about it. And I think it's more about teaching them life skills. I think, and
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you're doing that already with your kids. I think that's.
Yeah, 100%.
I
Yeah.
mean, no matter what the era will be, I think those will always be valuable. Last question to you was because you have such a fascinating story, with how you navigated through life and your adventures in Europe. What would you tell your young self right now?
Ah, that's tough, man. Tell myself, my young self. Ooh.
That made you think,
I know, man. That's a tough one, especially if you have to like, how am I gonna articulate this? I would probably tell like, when I was a kid, I was always have that fighting spirit mentality when I was a kid. So I think that kind of carried me I don't for some reason when I was a kid, I was always saying like, when there's a problem, there's always a solution.
mm,
I think that carried me until I'm 43 now. So
yeah,
it's like every problem is a solution. So I think for me, it's kind of just like, you know, keep on grinding, don't give up, and the light's gonna show up somewhere,
Were you always that optimistic?
Yes.
Yo, you were.
Yes. 100%, man. No, I
Wow.
think it's just the hard life,
Yeah.
Like, when you came from nothing,
Mm.
Like I said, we came from nothing. So
By the way, the reason I'm surprised is not a lot of people are, especially and especially if you've gone through hard life,
yeah,
it's very difficult to be optimistic.
it's
You know what I
hard.
mean? So yeah, that's interesting. All right, cool. I don't want to keep you long because I know you're still recovery. I know you're a very busy man. Um, where can we find you in terms of, do you have a website? Do you have um, your socials, your work?
Um, yeah, I mean, just my name,
Okay,
bryanalano.com.
easy.
Socials, like I said, I'm not really active but just my name too, Bryan Alano. So yeah, thanks for having me, man. I
Man,
mean,
that was
next time I'm gonna turn this around. I'm gonna interview you. I want to
yeah,
hear more about you.
yeah,
Okay?
for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
I'll be up for it.
I definitely
I'll
want to hear a
be
lot of more stories.
I'll
Yeah,
be happy to return a favor. But man,
yeah.
thank you very much
Let's
for
do that. Thanks.
sharing.
Appreciate this. Thanks
It's
for inviting me.
it's thank you for your insights as well, because a lot of your stories I have, especially the ones, the Euro trips and the ones in high school, that was fascinating. And um give my best to your family. And
Thanks, man.
I really hope you continue to build those memories, because yeah,
Yes.
they grew up very fast.
I know they grow fast.
Give my best to your wife as well. Kabalo pa ba siya mag-Bisaya? Yapon?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You guys speak it.
Yeah.
Your kids.
Yeah, we really like our kids are so lazy. They don't want to learn Bisaya, but we want them to learn Bisaya, but it's tough.
Yeah. Well, all right. As I've said, I'm gonna let you go. But again, thanks from us. Appreciate.
Sounds good. Bye. Thank you.
All right. Let's keep in touch though. All
All
right.
right.
See ya.
For sure. Bye.